everybody. Just wanted you guys to meet Jude. He's getting so huge. Hello. Before I pass him off, he's 7 weeks old and he's almost 13 pounds, which blows my mind. I think he's going to be tall. Look at this chunk. Look at this chunk. All right, Jude. Say hello to everybody. I'm going to pass him to Daddy. Harvest, come here. Oh, Harvest has her baby. Come here, Harvey. You going to go with Daddy downstairs? Bye. Love you.
It's a superhero cage. Come on.
I wish you guys could see it right now. All right. Thanks for being patient with me. We had 50 registered, so I was trying to wait for some more people to come on, but I know how that goes, and so I am going to record it. Bye, Harvest. If whoever is here live, hi, hello. If you're able to put your camera on, that makes me feel like we're hanging out. If you're not able to, because you got stuff going on, that's okay too. All right, let's see. So I am so glad you're here. Hi. I've been looking forward to this call. I've been wanting to do it for 7 weeks since he's been born. And I was gonna get like dressed and be really like cute and professional. And then I was like, no, I'm gonna put pajamas on and wash my face. So I look like I'm getting ready for bed. I've got like shiny face. I just washed my face. So we're cozy, we're comfy. Pretend you're like in my house right now and we're just talking birth. We're chatting birth. This subject is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to do my best to keep it like, I think 30 minutes max, just because Jeremy is trying to keep 4 kids quiet downstairs. And I'm sure that's his window. But this won't be the last one. Yeah, so glowing. This won't be the last one. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat and I will most likely answer it at the end, just so I don't get off track. But if your question is pertaining to something I'm talking about, we can chat about it. That's why I like to do live calls instead of just, giving you something I've already done so that we can interact. So
I'll just say real quick, I really appreciate you being live. I didn't expect this to be live. Anyone that I've ever joined has never been live. So this is fantastic.
Yay, good. I'm so glad. Yeah, I think there's something really magical about being able to connect like that. It's just, sometimes the timing works out. I am recording it, so for everybody else, they'll watch the recording. But yeah, I think it's a sweet way to connect. That's a little bit different than like social media connecting. So, all right, I'll go ahead and get started. We're talking tonight about how to visualize your dream birth, which is going to be, challenging to keep it within 30 minutes, but that's what I'm thinking. This might be like part 1 type of thing. But this is, if you have read my ebook, 5 Keys to Joy Within Birth, this is one of the keys. And it's one of the main ones. And I kind of talked about this on Instagram, that it's one that I think is a missing puzzle piece for a lot of people. I think people are even kind of scared to go there, or maybe there's some weird like woo-woo stuff about what that is. So I'm kind of going to talk about why I do this, a little bit of my personal experience with it, and then how to do it. I want to teach you how to do it. So if you've read the ebook, you've already read a little bit about it, but having now just had Jude's birth experience, I was like, I really want to teach this to people. It's really, really powerful. So, all right. So if you don't know me, my name is Hailey Aliff. I am a 2nd-generation birth worker. My mom was a midwife in the 70s. They referred to her as a lay midwife, which is she didn't go to traditional midwifery school. She just was a midwife through practice. She delivered hundreds of babies. If you know anything about Ina May and like that whole birth movement of like taking back birth, she was a part of that. So my aunt, my mom's sister, worked under Ina May at the farm. I think Ina May's first edition of her book, Ina May's Guide to Childbirth, my aunt Terry was in that book. So it's had several editions since then. But all that to say, birth work is my calling. It's in my blood. It's been something from just a very young age that I've been so drawn to, and really sought out the Lord in the avenue of birth. Birth teaches us a lot. It teaches us a lot about ourselves and about motherhood. And I think it's so vastly important that I think the enemy doesn't want us to experience birth the way that God intended it to, because it's so powerful. So kudos to you being here. I think that we don't give birth prep enough attention. I think people, for the most part, like I sell my online birth course, my modules. I think people would rather spend money on like maternity clothes than like a good birth education. And it's kind of crazy to me, because these memories and this experience is going to be with you for the rest of your life. So for anyone who spends any amount of time coming to a Zoom call or reading a book or however you prepare, I'm proud of you. That's really good work. That's really, really important work. So that's a little bit about me. I just had my third supernatural home birth. We adopted our firstborn, so we have 4 children. And so I believed what I believed about birth through my experience as a midwife's daughter, and then going through midwifery school. And then I launched my doula practice in 2012. So I saw what birth could be like in the capacity. And I've been teaching childbirth ed for all these years, but I knew what it was like even before I experienced it. And then when I experienced it, and now for the third time, I'm like, I know what birth is supposed to be like. I know what it can be like. So I'm like more passionate than ever to help women kind of take hold of what I believe is their birthright, their God-given birthright. So I want to do a quick like word association game. So first of all, in the chat, there's a few of you guys live. So I would love to know, where are you listening from? And I would like to know, are you currently pregnant? Are you trying to conceive? Are you just here because, are you a doula, a birth worker? And then here's your game. Okay, I just asked you for like so much information. What did I say? I see your name. Where are you listening from? Are you currently pregnant or trying? Okay, this is your next question. Without thinking about it, there's no wrong answer. So this isn't like, don't spend any time. It's going to be the first word that comes to mind when I say natural birth. And just type out the first thing that comes to mind when you hear that. Natural birth. That kind of helps me gauge to like, where are you guys at? Tennessee, 32 weeks today. Yay. California, 27 weeks. Wisconsin, 19 weeks with your 6th baby. 7th with our adopted daughter. So cool. Utah, 35 weeks on Tuesday, going for a home be back. This is amazing. Welcome, Mama's Birth Uninterrupted. Ooh, that's your first thought when you hear natural birth. I love that. Anybody else? Unmedicated. That says a whole lot right there. In control. Undisturbed. Good words. Not one of you said anything like negative. I've been teaching childbirth ed classes for like 10 years. And I always do this whenever we kick off a series. And by the end of it, everyone's word is totally different. But usually I get words like scary or hard or things like that. You guys got it. You guys are, I'm in good company right now. Maybe we'll play it at the end and we'll see what happens at the end. Okay. So without wasting any more time, I want to kind of explore the mind-body connection, because this is important. This is basically what shows us that our physical body, our physical health, and our emotional health and our emotional mind are intimately intertwined. We could do a whole Bible study on this, but I do love Proverbs 23:7 that says, as someone thinks within himself, so he is. There's a lot packed into that. There's this really great book called Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf. And this is just a quote from that, but she says, as we think, we change the physical nature of our brain. So as we consciously direct our thinking, we can wire out toxic patterns of thinking and replace them with healthy thoughts. And so her book is talking about neural pathways where we can actually change the way that we think about things. So why this is important. there are in midwifery school, I learned about 4 Ps, and these are basically factors that can extend or influence the duration of your labor. So I go into depth in these in Joy Within Birth in my modules, but in like a real quick synopsis, the first one is passage, right? That's your size and your morphology of your true pelvis, your cervix, your vagina, that's your perineum, the parity of woman, how many times you've given birth. That's 1 P. That's one factor that can influence the duration of your labor, right? The second P is passenger. That's the size of your baby, the moldability of the baby's skull, how long the baby's been in the birth canal, the presentation of the baby, if the baby's breech or transverse or vertex. All of that affects the duration of labor. The third P is powers. That's the quality and the force and the frequency of your contractions. I just want to make sure. Okay, good. I am recording. And then the last one, which is the one that I don't think we give enough power to or credit to or talk about or prepare for enough. And that fourth P is called the psyche. So that's you as the mother, that's your attitude toward your labor and the preparation that goes into your labor. And that's also just the influence of culture, if you have anxiety or fear, or the opposite going into your birth or during your birth. That is going to greatly affect how your labor goes. And it's going to definitely influence the duration and the flow of your labor. So it's so important that when we're training for natural birth and preparing, that it's not just physical, right? Like, yes, it's so important that we eat right. We want to be low risk, that we move our bodies, that we've got strength, that we do, proper movements to help baby get in a great position. Like the physical body plays a huge role, right? Sleep, all of that, nourishment, hydration. But the mind part of this is just as important. And so going back to Dr. Caroline Leaf's quote, she says, as we consciously direct our thinking, we can wire out these toxic patterns of thinking. So let's just say the toxic pattern of thinking for your birth is fear-based or maybe trauma-based, something that you've experienced, or maybe just what you've grown up to believe about birth, maybe what your mother told you or your friends or whatever TV showed you, right? That's toxic. So what she's saying is that as we consciously direct our thinking, we can completely change the nature of our brain. So the question is, how do we consciously direct our thinking? Because we know that our thinking is going to affect our labor. It's going to affect our physical body, right? So I really learned the power of this whole concept playing college volleyball. Actually, even before that, just preparing for college volleyball, playing in high school. My dad was is a volleyball coach, and my parents, all growing up, that's what they did for business. They ran volleyball clubs. All 4 of us girls, my 3 sisters and I, played collegiate volleyball. So I'm painting a picture that this is like a really big deal in our family. So around 16, 17 years old, my sister, who was playing volleyball at LSU, came in and was like, she was studying psychology, and she's like, I want to start a sports psychology program. And so we were kind of like the test models on this. And basically we would take 30 minutes before practice twice a week, and we would visualize ourselves doing volleyball skills. It was so incredibly boring for a 16-year-old to do this. And it was so hard to do this, like to sit and just think and visualize for 30 minutes. Of course, by the end of the season, we all were sold on the power of it. Like, we knew it made a difference. We needed to do it. We didn't even want to go like do a tournament or a game without having 30 minutes before. In the very beginning of it, I had a really hard time visualizing myself doing things correctly, which sounds so weird, but I would actually visualize myself doing mistakes and like serving the ball in the net. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, it was so hard to wire my brain. And so I realized, like, not only the power of this thing, but how it does take practice, how it is very awkward at first. And maybe you feel a little lost if you've never done it. So I'm going to guide you by the end of this how to do this, but that is where my background in all of this came. So I want to give you just a few statistics because I just think it's really cool. Of course, this is pertaining to sports psychology. I wish we could have a study done where we could see the power of visualization that mothers have on their birth, but I will just be the guinea pig because I've done it now 3 times in a row. But as far as sports go, basically, let me read a couple of these stats. So it says the key is the brain's plasticity. By consistently visualizing specific actions, athletes can mold their neural pathways to facilitate actual performance. So this is the brain-body connection I'm talking about. So basically, in sports, if you vividly imagine performing a task, you can effectively prepare your body to execute the action in reality. So there was a study done. This was a study by the study's Murphy. That's the last name. This was back in 1990. I found a bunch more though that were relevant, but that one was really cool because that was for Olympic athletes that they surveyed. So it revealed that 90% of Olympic athletes use some form of visualization technique. 97% accredited their success due to that, which is crazy. They were able to see that, was it powerlifting? A brain study indicated that the same neural pathways were activated when a weightlifter lifts a heavy weight and when they are only imagining lifting the weight. They're able to see the same neural pathways light up in their brain. So what's interesting about all of this is like they're able, with brain mapping technology, they're able to see which regions of your brain stimulated when you're doing the performance and when you're just picturing the performance, when you're visualizing it, okay? And so visualization is basically it's a way of conditioning your brain for a successful outcome. The more you do it, the more habituated it is in your mind. All right, so another study said, this was from 2007, they found that tennis players, they basically assigned tennis players to receive a combination of physical practice and mental imagery training. And the results showed that the ones that only received physical practice and then the ones that received the physical practice and the mental imagery, their serving accuracy went up so much. That's all they were visualizing. The ones that only had the physical training had no improvement whatsoever on their serves. There are so many stats. I don't want to waste your time. Go look into it if you're interested. I think it's really fascinating. So we know that in the sports realm that there's this mind-body connection. So I don't see why that couldn't be translated to birth, right? Because there's clearly a mind-body connection there too. Let's do a quick exercise. Maybe you've done this, humor me if you have, and just let's try and do this example together because this to me shows the immediate physiological response when you think a thought. So I want you to, I'm going to kind of walk you through a little imagery. So go ahead and close your eyes. And as I talk, I just want you to imagine as many details as you can. So all your senses involved. Try and visualize as I'm reading these things out, seeing, smelling, hearing. Okay, so start with just take a deep breath. Okay. So first, I just want you to imagine that you're standing at the threshold of your kitchen. This can be your kitchen, or this can be the kitchen of somebody you know, but whatever kitchen pops in your mind, just go with it. So you're kind of standing at the threshold of the kitchen. And then I want you to see on some counter space or a table, a cutting board. Next to the cutting board is a good sharp knife. Just walk over there. And I want you just to take a few moments and imagine your kitchen, whatever kitchen you're in. So picture the color of the countertops, the appliances, the cupboards. Notice if the windows are open. Is anything baking? Can you smell anything? Any sounds going on in the kitchen? I just heard my ice maker make a little rumble, or maybe the running of a dishwasher, or the hum of a fridge or clock on the wall. So just take some time to notice everything. So you're really including your senses in this visualization. Even take inventory of what you hear, what you smell, and how you feel being there in the kitchen. So imagine that on that cutting board is like a plump, fresh, juicy lemon. And in your mind, you're holding the lemon in one hand, and you're just feeling its weight and its textures. Place it back on the cutting board and carefully cut it in half with the knife. You can kind of feel the resistance of the knife and how it gives way as the lemon splits open. And you can notice the pale yellow of the pulp, the whiteness of the inner peel. See whether you've cut through a seed or two. So you're going to cut one of the halves now in two. maybe a drop or two of the juice kind of just pearled on the surface of one of those quarters. Now imagine lifting this lemon wedge to your mouth and smell the sharp, fresh scent. And now bite into the sour, juicy pulp. Okay, open your eyes. Did any of you have a physiological response to that visualization? Did anything happen with your saliva glands? Feel free to share. I didn't even close my eyes and picture that. I just was reading it and my mouth was salivating. Yes, crazy, Kayla said. Anybody else have a physiological response? Like, you're not biting this lemon, but your mind thinks it is. Mouth waters, jaws tightened, wild. I know I'm still like, I'm like, I need a drink of water. Hold on, this is Nisha. That's an immediate response. Ooh, cool. Candace said a smell of the lemon slightly. That's powerful. That lemon's not actually there. But my saliva glands are like just now starting to chill out just from like saying the word lemon over and over. That's a great example of our mind-body instant association. You guys have probably felt this too, like, and this is more like talking about the emotional mind, but like, have you ever been at odds with someone or in a fight or an argument and you can like feel the emotion in the pit of your stomach? Or maybe you feel it in like your shoulders. Like it's a physical response to an emotional thing, right? So your mind, your emotion, your bodies, I'm just trying to drive this home, how intertwined they are, right? And tasted the tartness. That is so cool. Okay, so imagine now the power of visualizing your birth over and over and over again. This isn't just a one-time thing. This is something that I start doing around 36, 37 weeks. So let's go into this now. This is part of what I believe we should be doing to prepare mentally, right? We're preparing physically, but we're also preparing mentally. So I committed around 36, 37 weeks pregnant to weekly visualization sessions. My goal was always to do 2 or 3 times a week. The tub is my happy place personally. Let me see if I can just fix my screen. Is acting so weird. No, it's not letting me. That's okay. The tub is my happy place. So I would always get into my tub and do it after I put the kids to bed, kind of set the mood. So for me, that's like Epsom salts, maybe lighting candles. This isn't like a bath just to get clean. This is like, I'm going to visualize in here. I always put calming essential oils. This is really important too. I even have like Valor and frankincense right here because the limbic part of our brain, which is the seat of our emotions, can be reached through our sense of smell. No other smell, no other sense can reach that part of the brain. That's why if you've ever had a smell trigger a memory, like I can smell something and be like, whoa, that reminds me of, oh my gosh, this happened to me recently. My dog had puppies and the smell of her having puppies, which is a very strong smell, like dog birth, instantly brought me back to childhood when my dog had puppies and all these emotions flooded with that. So our limbic system can be reached through a sense of smell. So I always include essential oils. I want this to be a trigger for me that when I use this at birth, this brings me now right back to my practice. So this is another part of the element of like bringing in now the sense of our smell, right? Of course, for me, I also use the tub in my birth. So that's also bringing in that element too. So set the mood. I'd always start off with like worship music, usually from my labor playlist, which I've pre-made and I'm happy to send to you if you want it. Turning the lights off, kind of just getting like oxytocin flowing. I really wanted to emulate what I was going to do when labor began. So when labor begins, I'm doing this exact scenario. I'm getting in the tub, I'm lighting candles, I'm smelling these oils, and I'm putting on worship music. And it's going right to where I practiced all these times. The first thing I would always do, because I always find that like the end of the day, especially if you have little kids, you're just like decompressing, right? So I can't just jump into visualization. So I'd always start by laying hands over my womb and just connecting with my baby for a moment, just thanking God and trying to get to a place of gratitude. If I feel stressed going into this, this isn't where I want to start. So gratitude's a great place to begin a birth. If you can do the same thing when labor starts, that's going to make you feel really, really good. So as I would feel my body relax and de-stress, I would then just invite God into this entire exercise of visualization. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with Christian Hypnobirthing app. That was a super powerful tool that I used during this time. I used it for relaxation in pregnancy. I definitely used it in this visualization process. And then I used it in early labor too. But that's another great tool to have. So okay, so here's just some tips real quick on how to visualize your dream birth. And then I'm actually going to walk you guys through it too. So you want to visualize the exact outcome you want, right? So if this is awkward or hard, I understand that. It might take a little bit of practice, but remember, we're mentally rehearsing something in our head and we want to see it unfold how we dream of seeing it, okay? If your mental images turn negative, maybe a thought comes in, an intrusive thought or a past memory or whatever, just stop it and start over and try and do it until you see what you want to see. So again, we're using all of our senses, right? So what we want to, in our visualization, it's not just what we want to see, but also we want to hear. We want to hear, what are we listening to? Is it encouragement? Is it Christian hypnobirthing? Is it worship? You want to experience what you feel. Do you feel really happy, really joyful, really excited? You can smell, right? That's why I bring in the oils. You can taste, whatever. So you bring in all your senses into that too. But you want to feel how your body was feel as you go through the motions of your labor and your birth. You want to practice it frequently. You want it to be something like repetitious so that when you go into labor, your first thought is like, oh my gosh, I've been here before. Even though you've never done this labor before, you've never had this baby before, but in your mind you have. It's really crazy. It's really cool. So here's what we want to do. We want to visualize every detail of your dream birth, anything you can possibly think of. And it's going to get easier with practice. But even to the point of, I'm trying to see if we have time. Should we walk through this? Do you guys want to walk through a birth visualization? Okay. Yes. Close your eyes. If you have an oil that you think you'll use at your birth, sniff that. This is a good time to do that. I would just put it in your hands and take some deep breaths. Okay. And you know what? If this is your first time doing this, it's okay if you don't have all these details figured out. This is just the first try. You can grow from this. So go ahead and close your eyes, take some deep breaths. First thing I want you to picture is, what time of day is it when your labor starts? What time of day is it? Where are you? Who's around you? What are you doing? There's no wrong visualization here. This is completely your birth, your dream birth. You get to make it up. So this is early labor. Early labor, it's just starting. Where are you? What time of day is it? Who's there? And then what are you doing? Are you listening to anything? What are you wearing? Try and picture it all. What did you eat? Or are you eating right now? Really important here is to visualize yourself excited, visualizing yourself joyful and happy. There's no fear when your labor kicks in. So kind of just picture, what are you doing when your labor kicks in? Visualize yourself enjoying this. Visualize yourself setting up arrangements. Are you calling people to care for your other children, or are your children there? Visualize at whatever point you're going to let your birth team know. Of course, you need to know who is on your birth team, so you're going to visualize that too. But I want you to now kind of move into like a more active labor scene and imagine just this perfect scenario where everyone arrives exactly when you need them to. Not too soon, not too late. And I want you to start visualizing yourself laboring, whether that's in your home or your place of birth. Obviously, this is going to be different for all of you. Some of you are going to be home. Some of you might be needing to get in the car and head to your birth center or your hospital right now, but visualize yourself getting to your birthplace. Okay, so wherever that's at. And again, in your vision, take inventory. What's your demeanor? What's the mood of the room? What music is playing in the background? What essential oils do you have diffusing? Okay, and I want you to visualize yourself getting close to transition. And see the joy on your face and your partner's faces as you both realize you're getting closer to meeting your baby. Now I want you to imagine you're starting to push. Okay, so you feel the urge to push. Where are you? What position are you in? Who's near you? What's the expression on your face? How do you feel? Are you excited? Are you joyful? So I want you to just picture yourself holding your baby on your chest and just feeling all the feels. Are you crying? Are you smiling? Are you rejoicing? Are you cheering? Are you just silent, shock and awe? I want you to visualize whoever's in that room with you, sharing the moment with you. And just picture your place that you birthed. Where are you? Where did you end up delivering? Are you in a tub? Are you in a bed? Visualize what you're wearing. I want you to try and visualize your first time latching your baby and nursing for the first time. You can even visualize the birthing of your placenta. You can take it as far as you want to. Okay. How was that? Got some tears, Kelsey?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine like pulling my baby to my chest and I immediately just like felt tears.
Oh, yeah, you pictured it. I have goosebumps like watching you guys visualize this. That was a really fast run through. So you can see the power if you do this for like 30 minutes. I was like 4 minutes, right? It's such a powerful thing and it's so special. And I remember when I started doing it with my son, my firstborn son, Koa, I remember when labor started thinking, this feels very familiar. Like I know in my mind, this is my first birth, but it didn't feel that way. It felt like I had already done this before. And every single time with each baby now, my births have almost gone exactly how I've pictured them, other than Harvest and Co's time of day. Of course, I always pictured myself having a day birth and they came like in the middle of the night. So I want to share with you though a detail that is so important. And I did kind of like fly through that, but I mean, you get the point that you are picturing from start to finish any detail that you can come up with. And you know, it might change. You might not like what you pictured, or you might see someone else the next time that you do it, or maybe you get a whole new vision, something you've never thought of before, especially if you've never done anything like this. But there's a key component here. And if you read the ebook, I call this visualizing with open hands. This is really where I invite the Lord into this process. And this is really important. So this is like the prayer that I wrote out of kind of like my posture of my heart when I'm visualizing, but I'll just read it. It says, God, here's my desire. If this lines up with your will, then I believe this is going to happen. You said, ask and it will be given. So, Father, will you put your handprint over this vision and over this birth? Will you guide me here? Is this what you want to? Father, at the end of the day, I trust you and I give you complete control to write this story whatever way you want to. So, Abba, this is my vision. I claim it and I believe it's going to happen, but I hold it with open hands. You have permission to do anything you want to do with it. And I think that this heart posture is so important because I kind of visualize like this is my vision, Lord. And when I have a clenched fist on my vision or like what I want for my life, because honestly, this exercise can be applied to so many assets of life. But when we do this, we're doing it from a place of fear. We actually don't have full control in our birth, right? There's so many components of it that we just have to surrender. And so if I'm trying to have this false sense of control, this is coming from a place of fear. I want a place of trust, surrender, joy. So I'm doing this with open hands. Like, God, this is what I want. This is what I'm asking. You said to ask. If this is your will for me, I believe that you're going to make it happen. I believe that. And we don't want fear at our birth, right? We want a joy-filled birth. So there's no place for fear. So if my goal is joy, I have to release any worries. I have to release my false sense of control. I have to release my concerns even. And y'all, this lesson can be applied to so many assets of your life, right? And I want to leave room for what God wants to do. And so this is kind of my personal story on this is the birth of Koa and Harvest were almost identical in how they played out. Can y'all hear that beeping over and over again? Okay. That's like my text coming in on my computer. Okay, that's good. They were also both exactly how I envisioned them to be minus the time of day. I don't even think it was until Jude that I was like, I'm going to think so outside of the box for this because I was just trying to picture a smooth, peaceful birth, which was wonderful. But then after that, I was like, and I want a sunset and I want this and I want that. Like, why don't we just ask these things? He's a good father. He wants to give good gifts to his children, right? So what was really cool, oh my gosh, all these messages. How do I turn this off? For the visualization specifically for Harvest, I had this thought in my mind that I really wanted to be outside. I really wanted to be outside for her. But that came in a visualization session. Okay. So Koa's birth was wonderful and beautiful. So when I was pregnant with Harvest and went to do this experience, I kind of pictured the same thing. Okay, my water breaks. I asked the Lord for my water to break. I think I just wanted a clear sign that I was in labor because one of my things that's really important to me is I don't want people over too soon, like watching me labor. So I wanted to know I was in labor. So I asked the Lord for that sign. And it's so wild to me that now all three of my children, their labors have been where my water breaks first before they come. So it gives me like a sure sign. But anyway, I'm picturing myself laboring with Harvest and I'm picturing it to be just like Koa's and I'm picturing myself in my tub and in my bedroom. And then all of a sudden in my vision that I'm visualizing with open hands, I see a thunderstorm outside. Like one of my most things that I love in life is like a thunderstorm and rain. It's just so incredibly relaxing and peaceful to me. So I see this in my vision and I immediately was like, this is the Lord, because I did not come up with that detail. That is super cool. I didn't even think about the weather, right? Like I'm just picturing myself. So all of a sudden I'm like, okay, God, what do you want to do with this? Like you're showing me a thunderstorm. So immediately I switch gears. So this is probably like my second or third time visualizing her birth. And I'm like, I'm going to be outside for this thunderstorm. So I switch my vision and I now see myself on the back porch giving birth. And so Harvest, her second birthday is Monday. So August 20th. If you know anything about the South, anybody live in Louisiana? The South is absolutely miserable in the summer. It is miserably hot. And August is like the peak apex of misery and humidity. So I tell my midwife, I tell my husband, I just tell a handful of people. My midwife and my husband were like, that's so cool, super supportive. Everybody else was like, you are crazy. It's going to be 1,000,000 degrees. You're not going to do that. No, you're not going to want to do that. So that's part of my, well, first of all, be careful who you share your visions with, because you don't want your like faith to get squattered, right? But I was like, okay, but I'm doing it with open hands. Like this wasn't even my idea. This was like, God gave me this vision. So if it happens, it happens. Does it mean I'm going to be disappointed if I end up birthing inside? Or am I going to be disappointed that there's not a thunderstorm? No, but like I'm believing that this is going to happen, right? So I start preparing. I have my dad bring over a bunch of fans to my back porch just in case it's 1,000,000 degrees. The morning that my water broke, so my water broke on the 19th at nighttime. That morning, my dad came over. He calls me Joy. That's my middle name. Joy, I just really don't want you to be heartbroken or disappointed because it's really hot today. And I don't think that you're going to give birth outside. And I don't want you to be upset because you're like putting all this effort into all of this. And again, I was like, Dad, if I give birth inside, I will be perfectly content. I'm just doing this in faith. I'm just doing what I'm visualizing. But like, if I don't make it to the back porch and I give birth walking there indoors, like it is what it is, right? Like I can only control so much. But I at least prepared in faith. And that's part of what this does is you're visualizing so much so that you now have to take actions to help this vision become a reality. So I'm like, I'm preparing for this outdoor birth. Well, I start going on some walks, trying to get myself in labor. I'm 41 weeks the next day. And all of a sudden a cold front comes in. This wind, this gust of wind, it's nighttime now. It's 65 degrees. My water breaks. The only time it rained that night, there was a 1 hour window of a thunderstorm was when I was in the tub. Like it started thunderstorming when I'm pushing Harvest out. And everyone that was there, I have a birth video where you can hear the bawling, crying in the background. And you can hear people going, oh my gosh, it's just like she envisioned. And so it was really faith building for everybody. It was so wild. But I don't share this with you to tell you that if you visualize your birth, it's going to be everything you want, because I don't know what the Lord has in store for you. It might be different than your version of your dream birth. There might be a better version. Like sometimes I don't think our brains even allow us to visualize all that it could be. But I share this to encourage you in this practice because I know that there is something to this, inviting the Lord and helping to make this connection between our spirit, our body, and our mind, the way that he really designed us to be. And I think birth has to be a combo of all of those. I know that if my birth had not gone according to vision, I still would have had joy. I would have held it loosely with open hands. But then at the same time, I believed for it. I prayed for it. I prepared for it, right? That's the best we can do. Your birth might not go exactly how you envision it, but the best we can do is really practice for it and prepare for it. Now, when it came time for Jude's birth, that was a whole other level because for 3 years, I had visualized this specific spot on my deck giving birth. I never envisioned the sunset until like the day before. Like I was just like, I just want it to be in the daytime. I just want a daytime birth. And it wasn't until the day before that I was like, God, why not have a sunset? Could I have a sunset in the background? Like, is that okay to ask? Is that selfish? Is that silly? But like, why not? Right. So I didn't visualize that detail until the day before he was born, but I visualized that spot on that deck for 3 years to the point where like, I don't even have control when I'm going to get pregnant necessarily. Like we can try, we have done this before, but the Lord always picks when the babies are going to come. So the fact that it happened in the summertime when we were able to be here, all of that's him, right? Like I can only control so much. I'm really excited for you. This is already way over time than I wanted it to be, but I'm really excited for you to just kind of tap into this and start to do this, start to visualize. I think what's also going to happen for you, you've maybe not even asked yourself, what is my dream birth scenario? Like maybe it's just been, I just want a healthy baby. I just want a safe birth. I just want not super long birth. And that's great and wonderful, but there's so many details that you should really think about, right? Who's there? Who's around you? I even picture what I'm wearing. I picture the music, the feeling I think is so important, you guys, of just like never visualizing any part of your labor having fear, but visualizing joy from beginning to end. And maybe even in your visualization, you see certain people that you're like, I actually changed my mind. I actually don't want that person at my birth. Or wait, I need that person at my birth because they were in my vision every single time. So I think you guys are going to learn some things in this exercise, but at the same time, make some really strong connections with your heart and your mind and your body. So, oh, I love that, Kayla. Yes, it is time to lay it down. And like I said, when you visualize this, you might you might have moments of trauma of like old birth experience, right? Past birth experience, and really needing to rewire the neural pathways in your brain and visualize something brand new, visualize just a very joy-filled experience. And joy does not, it's not without hard labor. Like, I appreciate the pain-free birth movement and that message, but we don't want to be numb. My goal has never been to not feel birth. Like, I want to experience birth. That's why I don't get an epidural. So I don't want to be numb. But when I think of my births, I've never thought like, oh, that was painful. Like, I've had injury before, and I've had accidents, and I've had physical stuff. That's not what I feel. I feel intensity. I feel pressure, I feel hard work, but it's coupled with so much peace and so much joy that when it's over, I'm like, I loved that. I can't wait to do that again. That's why I keep getting pregnant. I love it all. I love it so much. But you need to start picturing that for yourself too. Let yourself go there and just experiencing birth in its fullness, that you're not necessarily numb to it, but in all the intensity and the pressure, you're so excited to be doing it and experiencing it and feeling it. Okay, I'm wrapping this up. If you haven't read my ebook yet, go to joywithinbirth.com and grab that. It's free. It goes into 4 other keys, which maybe I'll do a recording on those in the near future. I just feel like this one in particular, it's so powerful to experience how to visualize it and to walk through that. If you are not a part of Joy Within Birth, the community that I teach and that I have all my training in, but you want to be, you can also go to that website, joywithinbirth.com, and text me. I'm going to put this in the chat real quick. I will give you a discount code. Text DREAM to this number. And also, this is my business number. If you have a question or you want to connect, you can text me here too. I didn't get to any questions. So if anybody has a question that they want to chat about real quick, I have a few more minutes. I can do that. Oh, good, Candace. I'm so glad. Right. Like, I think our visualization, or at least I think people's dream birth, is like so vague. It's like too vague. It's like, yeah, I want it to be like under this many hours, and I want this person there, or I want it to be at this location, but it's like, wait, there's so much more. Visualize it all. Did anybody, okay, when I say the word natural birth, when I say the words natural birth, does anything else come to mind? Do you have any other words now that pop in your mind? Just curious. Okay, so for people who are on the recording, if you, because you can't see my chat, if you text DREAM to 985-218-8868, that's my business number. I will send you the discount code and also the website for the ebook. Yes, Kelsey, good question. Is it helpful to break down the stages of labor in different visualization sessions? If you've never done this before and that's easiest for you, totally. I always just picture start to finish. Like early labor, there's not a whole lot I linger on there, but I do picture the time of day, my attitude, who's there. Early labor, I almost always picture it in the morning, which is just funny because that's so not likely. But I'd always pictured early morning, me getting a good meal in, me being really peaceful, putting on worship music, not calling anyone, not having anyone come over. So I kind of picture like early labor with normal life and a lot of excitement. And so that one doesn't take like a whole lot of time. And then active labor is more where I get into the details of like, okay, what do I look like in this? How am I postured? What am I wearing? Who am I calling? When are they arriving? I'm really getting into like that scenario. Then of course, transition, which, this isn't like a birth class, but transition is the phase of labor where most people start to panic. It feels a little overwhelming. It's a lot of hormones and a lot of feelings and a lot of physical changes. And I try to picture transition as a time where I'm really excited because I know baby's coming and everyone around me is excited. And so I think just picturing yourself not being in fear, but identifying transition. So whatever, picturing yourself maybe like getting into your birth tub or whatever changes you're going to make. And then I like to take it into immediate postpartum. I like to see myself visualizing the baby on my chest and who's with me in that moment. And like I said, you can go into the placenta, you can do it however far you want. I like seeing myself nurse my baby in the tub, so as detailed as you can. But if you feel like you need to break it down into stages at first, go for it. I think the more detail, the better. Anybody else have a question? All right. Well, thank you guys for coming tonight. I hope this was really helpful for you. I'll definitely share this recording on Instagram and I'll email it out too. And then just let me know. I mean, reach out to me. You have my number there. You can ask me, tell me how I can be praying for you. And yeah, we can connect. You're welcome. All right, y'all have a great rest of your night. I'm excited for your births. I'm so excited for your births. All right. Bye, y'all.